Yeah, we're going to have Steve Turner on. Steve is a New Yorker. He's an Upper East Sider. He's a former pro tennis player. He played the likes of Ilie Nastase, Stan Smith in the 70s and in his few years on the tour. Now he's a Kabbalah scholar, naturally, as one does. He's made the transition to studying the Kabbalah, and he still plays tennis, except he plays pretty much alone every morning. He hits it against the wall at a playground on East 67th Street, a block from his house. And the reason I wanted to get him on here, however briefly, because we might jump to Porky and other guests, is because the U.S. Open's happening now, the tennis U.S. Open in Queens and Flushing Meadow Park. The likes of Roger Federer, Venus Williams, Rafael Nadal, etc. And, you win, you advance to the next round. You win until you win the tournament. Steve Turner has a bit of a different take on tennis than your average sports psychologist, your average fan. He looks at tennis as more of a spiritual journey where winning is not only not everything, losing is almost, in a way, more important and holds sway in an athlete more than winning. So, Steve, thanks for coming on this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Corey. Thank you.
Yeah. So, first of all, have you been watching the tennis? I mean, we don't have it. This isn't obviously, this isn't sports talk. This isn't a sports show. But, well, I imagine we do have some fans out there, and people are always watching, and
no, the points that I would make about tennis would be fitting for your show. One of them is that it's not real tennis. So it's more of a I've read through a few pages of this book, Vanishing New York, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But the whole idea of tennis is vanishing. And it's become just a financial institution out there. And it was a phony process. Last week there was a match with the world's greatest player. Any time you want to just say stop and I'll go to another subject. But the match with Roger Federer last week was a complete phony match.
Oh, you talking about where he could have overpowered the opponent and he dragged it out to 5 sets? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You think that was done on purpose to make it, it more exciting and dramatic and everything?
Well, it was more for him. It wasn't because he was beating the person at 6-love the first set with drop shots, making him look foolish.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this person there won 2 sets on him. Because what he wanted to do, Federer, was make it difficult for himself to extricate himself from a difficult position. And so he did this, and he's fooling 20,000 people who are on the edge of their seats, oohing and eyeing and applauding, and it's just a phony.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a real match. It was, in a certain sense, an exhibition, and there's some moral things involved here now, especially since there's betting on the games, and there's been a lot of stuff about, throne games and attitudes towards fans, players, and everything. And so that's where I find wrong. The entire structure is wrong. And that might be of interest to you listeners.
Well, what I also wanted to touch upon was that, especially because I have Malachi McCourt sitting next to me, and he doesn't have a huge interest, I'd say, maybe in the specifics of tennis, but I think he would definitely be fascinated by the fact that you kind of started to develop. You grew up in the village. You got into tennis as a kid. You had a proclivity for it. You got very good, very fast. You went on the tour. You played some of the greatest players of your generation, and even in playing those players, you had chances to hit winners, to win maybe, and you kind of blew it. So, tennis is a game, a lot of unforced errors, as is life in a way. You hit it into the net, you hit it out of bounds, you beat yourself, and tennis, one beats oneself all the time. So that's, am I
agree 100%.
Somewhat correct in this? You started to analyze that over the years, how do we lose things instead of winning them, and even though we're always geared to win things, that's the object of sports and life and everything else. We go through life,
100%. I'm very happy to talk about that because I lost on purpose. I lost, in a certain sense, it's a masochism. I didn't want to succeed.
You didn't know it then, right?
In a certain sense, it's not that I didn't know it then, but in a very deep sense, I did. And I think that people are aware of that they don't want to succeed. They don't want to change the status quo and put themselves in positions that either they're psychologically not ready for or spiritually they shouldn't be in. And so it's a very deep issue. And it has to do with the individual personality. I see this all the time. You're going to see this tonight, by the way, if people want to watch, with the Venus Williams against Sloane Stephens match. Sloane Stephens will not win this match because she will not overcome Venus Williams.
Right.
You know, one of the great champions. And she doesn't feel worthy. Yeah. And she personally doesn't feel worthy.
It's almost like a parental figure to her or something, right?
Exactly right. And one of the reasons that I used to lose was because of a parental relationship, say with my father or something, that I didn't want to overcome the father in my own house.
Yeah.
You see, this is a very deep Freudian type of an issue.
In other words, if you're playing a great player like Stan Smith, who you may have looked up to, before you played him, like you said, you were even wearing his sneakers, the Stan Smith Adidas. Right. How do you beat a guy when you're wearing his own sneakers? Right?
That's exactly right.
It's a mindset or something.
Right. Well, as you know, Corey, when I played Stan Smith, I had been a reader of his press beforehand. So I read that he had a booming serve and slashing volleys. When I played him, he wasn't that good. So I'm in the middle of the match, and I lost the first set, but I have a real good chance in the second set. And I serve, and it's like 5-all, a deuce. I come to the net. There's an easy ball right about shoulder height, a little bit, about 6 inches above my shoulder and on my backhand side. I went to hit the shot. My arm didn't raise up. Physically, my arm didn't raise up. So in other words, that's like a choking or something like that, an inhibition, a block. You see? Yeah. Whatever it was, my arm didn't raise up to the ball.
Well, what is choking? What is that?
Well, choking means just that for whatever, it's a physical thing. You can't breathe. Choking is no different that you can't breathe. It's that you can't accept a situation beyond what you were. And so one keeps the status quo. Because if you win a match, you break out of that and you enter a new level. It's like graduating from high school. But, you enter a new level. So a lot of high school athletes, again, they're not going to do so good in college. So they keep their psychology from being in high school. It's the same kind of thing of any level. The same thing in the business world. Yeah. Or stuff like that. Why people can't become the vice president, why they have to remain less.
There's countless psychology books probably devoted to all this stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm just giving another, but the difference is I'm telling you in tennis, which actually what you're going to see tonight.
The will to lose.
It's what I call the will to lose. And in a popular psychology world like we're in here now, where you're not allowed to mention the word lose, everything is win. You're a winner. Everything is you are supposed to eliminate negative thinking from your brain. People say, "Well, I stayed positive." Well, how about the negative thoughts? See, so in my opinion, you're supposed to handle all the thoughts that come through your brain. There's no such thing as positive and negative. There's thoughts that happen in your brain, and you're supposed to handle these accordingly. But because of our school system, especially in the West here, we're not allowed to have any negative thoughts. As you know, Corey, I think there's a blockage in the left-hand usage in our society. which represents women and the negative and things like that. And so one of my things right now is to how to get, all these Uber and all these other problems in corporations with women is because the left hand isn't used in our society. Right. Until the left hand will be equal to the right, women are going to have a tough time in our society. And so this is all an extension, by the way, of this negative thinking. See? Because the left hand is considered negative. In every language in the world, the word left has a negative connotation. In German, it's links. In French, it's gauche. In Italian, it's sinistra. It's all negative. And until that negative and positive are considered equal, we're dealing with half a deck. I mean, this is self-evident. Yeah. How to accomplish that in society? You can't.
Yeah.
So you can't. But what I'm telling you, I'm not asking for is it true? It is true. Will it be accomplished in society? No.
Yeah. All right. So what can people expect?
Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions
well, I mean,
for me?
I have a lot of questions, but since we're a little
How
short
about
on
your
time,
friend there? How about your friend?
Well, he always has questions. Well, that'll be a deep discussion. Once I start opening up the Kabbalah box, how Kabbalah, ties in with all this theory. We won't have time to get into that, but
Well, it's not only Kabbalah; it's alchemy, psychology. Kabbalah is basically a Jewish thing.
Yeah.
You see, but it's not very much different than alchemy, or it's not very much different than the tarot cards. It's just that it comes from the Jewish tradition. Yeah. You see, which again, by definition, most people are, sexist, racist, anti-Semitic, which is not the world's worst thing. It's how one handles that. Right. You see. But, I mean, each person is entitled to their own predilections and opinions.
Yeah.
But Kabbalah is Jewish. And the big problem is they're trying to deneuter that. But, but every tradition has the same. Yeah. Islam has it in esoteric Islam, Sufism and things like that. I just happen to be reading right now alchemy. It's the same thing.
Okay.
The alchemical process.
All right. Let me. All right. So it's a deeper discussion than we have time for now. But I appreciate you coming on, and I'll touch base with you shortly. But thanks a lot, Steve Turner, to talk a little bit about the other side of tennis, the left-handed side, or whatever, what have you, the will to lose. And we're going to shift gears now. It's still sports related, though.